Hello and welcome to Wisdom Trek. This is Guthrie Chamberlain and I'm your guide to wisdom and creating a living legacy. Thank you for joining us for our 7-day-a-week, 7 Minutes of Wisdom podcast. This is day 134 of our trek, and we are remaining in camp this week as we dig for the nuggets of wisdom contained in the book of Proverbs. We have discovered some precious treasures so far this week, so let's continue our study of the map to wisdom. Yesterday we explored chapter 3 verses 7 through 12, so today we'll continue to explore chapter 3 as we discover just how valuable wisdom really is. As I mentioned in the past, once we complete the entire book of Proverbs as a commentary, we will make it available as an ebook also. Although we will have many treks between our times in Proverbs as we hit the trails and study other nuggets of wisdom. And if you have any of your own observations, comments, or questions as we explore these nuggets of wisdom, please share them on the comments section of the Daily Journal page at wisdom-trek.com. We are recording our podcast from our studios at Home 2 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Looking back at this past week, it's been an interesting and exciting opportunity for growth. The 3 podcasts in which I was a guest on went very well, and we are making progress in providing value to others that are creating and publishing podcasts in their own areas of expertise. And as I ponder the wisdom and insights that we are gleaned by sitting around a campfire, as we've been doing this week, we realize that some of this wisdom is astounding. As we look at these verses today, we will see a tremendous value in obtaining wisdom, and how wisdom is the very foundation of all creation. As I mentioned in previous day, chapter 3 is titled Trusting in the Lord, but our focus today is the value of wisdom. So we're going to start with verses 13 through 18. Joyful is the person who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For wisdom is more profitable than silver, and her wages are better than gold. Wisdom is more precious than rubies, nothing you desire can compare with her. She offers a long life in her right hand and riches and honor in her left. She will guide you down the delightful paths. All her ways are satisfying. Wisdom is a tree of life to those who embrace her. Happy are those who hold her tightly. And we saw in Proverbs chapter 1 verses 20 through 33 that Solomon described wisdom as a woman. This happens again here in Proverbs 3. There is a difference though. In Proverbs chapter 1, wisdom was angry with evil people. They had refused her advice. But here in Proverbs 3, we read about people who love wisdom. Wisdom brings good things to us: long life, wealth, and honor. And while we walk with wisdom, our life will be pleasant and beautiful. As we just read in verses 14 and 15, we see that wisdom is compared to valuable objects. She is worth more than precious stones. Her value is more than silver or gold. Now you can put money in a bank, and the bank will pay you a little bit of interest on that, very little these days. However, the bank is not as good as wisdom. If you give your life to wisdom, she will pay you more than any bank could ever do. No bank can give you a longer life, but wisdom can give you a long life. No bank can ever promise you a place in heaven, but wisdom can promise this. And no bank can make you right with God, but wisdom can do this. The happiness that wisdom brings is not just an emotion, it is actually pure joy. This is the same happiness or joy that Jesus described in Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12, which is referred to as the Beatitudes. So I thought I would share those 12 verses with us today. One day he saw the crowds gathering. Jesus went up to the mountainside and sat down. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. God blesses those who are hungry and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. God blesses those whose hearts are pure, for they will see God. God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called the children of God. God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things about you because you are my followers. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for great is the reward that awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. So we see here that even though at times we don't do what is right before God, we receive his joy in our spirits. Sometimes our lives will be difficult. Sometimes they'll be very sad times. Even then, God can comfort us. He will look after us. We are sad at some times of life situations, and God's joy will still be in our hearts, and we will have the good life because God helps us. Now David was not happy when he was in danger, but he knew that God's joy was in his spirit. so he was not afraid of the dangers that surrounded him when he wrote Psalms chapter 23, verse 4. Even when I walk through the darkest valleys, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me. Now let's move on to the next section in Proverbs chapter 3, which is verses 19 and 20. By wisdom the Lord founded the earth. By understanding he created the heavens. By his knowledge the deep fountains of the earth burst forth, and dew settles beneath the night sky. As we see these verses, we realize that we all need wisdom. Even God used wisdom during the creation as he created the world and the universe. And there's a similar passage in John chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, which goes like this. In the beginning the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. Now John goes on later to explain that this Word means Jesus. Jesus was always with God because Jesus is God. And as we ponder this, that's a lot to take in for today. So let's think about this. It is unmistaken that wisdom brings us joy, and although it does not cost us anything to obtain, except for a strong desire, some study, and perseverance, its value is immeasurable. And we see that from wisdom stems all of creation, including ourselves. So why would we ever pass up the opportunity to obtain wisdom? And with this thought, come along with us tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy, and we will learn about common sense and discernment. And that will finish our podcast for today. Remember to listen to your daily dose of wisdom at wisdom-trek.com, or you can subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, or YouTube. And if you do subscribe, it'll be downloaded to you automatically each day. I would like to ask you to please share Wisdom Trek with your family and friends through email, Facebook, Twitter, or in person face-to-face. And ask them to come along with us each day and join us on our Wisdom Trek. The journal for today's podcast can be found at wisdom-trek.com. And as always, thank you for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, but most importantly, your friend, as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal each day. As we take this trek together, let us always live abundantly or fully, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. This is Guthrie Chamberlain reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and then create a great day every day. See you tomorrow.